Welcome to Sarah Wood's Tale, where stories comes alive. Please do well to hit that subscription button and turn on your notification bell for subsequent stories. Evelyn Carter stirred the pot of jollof rice carefully, wiping the sweat off her forehead with the back of her hand. Their one-bedroom apartment in the outskirts of Lagos was already warm, and cooking only made it worse. Still, she smiled softly. David would be home soon. She glanced at the small clock on the wall, 7:30 p.m. Evelyn didn't live like a woman who secretly owned one of the fastest-growing tech companies in Nigeria. She wore plain clothes, took public transport, and worked part-time as a freelance designer, a cover story she had perfected over the years. No one knew she was the brain behind Zenith Innovations. Not even her husband. Her phone buzzed. David, traffic. Be home in 30 minutes. She sighed. David never said thank you. Never asked how she was doing. But she still loved him, or maybe she loved the idea of him. They had met 5 years ago when he was still confident, charming, and full of big dreams. She had fallen hard. Now, he was jobless, bitter, and always angry. The front door opened roughly an hour later, and David walked in, tossing his bag on the old couch like he owned the world. You're just making rice again, he said with a disappointed look as the aroma hit him. Evelyn kept her smile. Yes, baby. I thought you liked my jollof. He sat down with a sigh, scrolling through his phone. I need something better. We can't be eating like secondary school students every day. She brought a plate to the table. I'll make stew tomorrow. I'll go to the market early. He didn't answer. They ate in silence until David spoke up again, clearly irritated. I saw Emeka's new car on Instagram today. 2022 Toyota. That guy wasn't half as smart as me in school. Evelyn tried to sound supportive. You're smarter, David. Your time will come. My time, he scoffed. I'm tired of waiting. I've sent out so many applications, Evelyn. Nobody even calls. Maybe if you had connections, you could do something useful. That comment stung. She forced herself to stay calm. I'll ask around. I know people in tech. You. What do you know about tech? He interrupted, laughing coldly. You and your small designs. That's not real work. Evelyn looked down. He didn't know. He had no idea she was the one behind the tech company he had probably admired from afar. And she would keep it that way, for now. Don't worry, she said softly. Something good is coming. David shook his head, clearly annoyed. It better. I'm tired of living like a nobody. When I was growing up, I thought I'd be rich by 30. Evelyn cleared the table quietly. She had thought they'd build a future together, but lately, it felt like she was the only one still dreaming. That night, as David slept heavily beside her, Evelyn stayed up late on her laptop. Not working, but thinking. Should I give him a chance? At Zenith, she whispered to herself. She sighed deeply. I just want him to be happy. 2 weeks later, Evelyn sat across from Charles, the public face and acting CEO of Zenith Innovations. A trusted friend and business partner, he knew her truth. You're seriously considering hiring your own husband without telling him the truth? Charles asked, leaning back in his leather chair. Evelyn nodded. He's losing hope, Charles. He's not himself anymore. Charles gave her a look. Evelyn, the man doesn't even respect you. Are you sure he deserves this? She hesitated. Maybe if he gets the job, he'll change. Maybe he just needs to feel like a man again. Charles sighed and rubbed his temples. All right. I'll make space in the strategy team. But we'll do it through HR, the normal way. No special treatment. He'll think it's pure merit. That's perfect, Evelyn said with a grateful smile. I just want him to have a fair chance. A week later, David received an unexpected call. Hello, he answered cautiously. Good afternoon, Mr. Carter. This is Chidinma from Zenith Innovations. We received your application and would like to schedule an interview. David sat up straight, eyes wide. Zenith? The tech company? Yes, sir. You're shortlisted for a business development executive role. His mouth was open in shock. Oh wow, yes, I'm available. Anytime. When he hung up, He ran to the living room where Evelyn was folding laundry. "Babe," he shouted. "You won't believe who just called me." She looked up, heart pounding. "Who?" "Zenith Innovations. That big tech company. They want me for an interview." She smiled. "That's amazing, David." He didn't ask if she had helped. He didn't even consider it. "I told you my time would come," he said proudly. "I knew I had what it takes." "Of course you do," she replied softly. The interview came and went. Charles and the HR team treated him professionally, asked all the standard questions. David performed well. He was smart, after all. Just misguided. A week later, he got the job. David screamed with joy when the offer letter came in. "Evelyn, baby, I got it. I got the job." She hugged him tightly. "I'm so proud of you." He kissed her forehead, finally smiling genuinely. "I'm going to make us rich, you'll see." The first few weeks were great. David woke early, dressed sharp, and left the house with a purpose. He came home late sometimes, exhausted but satisfied. Evelyn supported him quietly, never letting on how much she knew. One night, as he took off his tie, he said, "You know, I think they see my potential already. I might move up fast in that place." Evelyn smiled. "I'm sure you will." David sat beside her. "You know, I really needed this. For a long time, I felt useless. Like I was stuck. But now I feel alive again." Evelyn's heart lifted a little. Maybe this would help heal them. But a part of her still worried. Would success make him better or worse? 3 months into the job, things started to shift. David no longer said thank you for dinner. He stopped asking how Evelyn's day was. He started comparing her to women at the office, women who wore heels and worked in real roles. "You should see the kind of women in my department," he said one evening. "Polished. Smart. Some of them even studied abroad. Not like this home sewing thing you do." Evelyn blinked. "I do more than that, David." He waved her off. "Anyway, I'm going to the company dinner next weekend. It's for senior staff." She looked at him, hopeful. "Can I come?" He looked surprised. Then he laughed. "It's not for spouses, Evelyn. It's a professional event." She said nothing, but the ache inside her chest grew. He was rising. And she was disappearing from his world. One evening, Charles called her. "I'm giving David a small promotion. He's actually doing a good job." Evelyn forced a smile. "I'm glad. That's all I wanted." Charles hesitated. "But Evelyn, he's starting to change. Staff say he's arrogant. He talks down to people, especially junior workers." Evelyn felt a chill. "Keep me posted. Are you okay?" She looked at the wall in her bedroom. A photo of their wedding day stared back at her. "I don't know anymore, Charles. I really don't." David Carter stood in front of the large glass windows on the 10th floor of Zenith Innovations. His new office overlooked the city, cars moving like ants, buildings stretching into the sky. A soft grin appeared on his face as he adjusted the silver watch on his wrist. From a small apartment in age to a private office, he said to himself, "This is what I deserve." He had been promoted to head of strategy just 3 months into the job. Charles had praised him for his aggressive ideas and bold pitches. His team feared him, but upper management admired his confidence. Every morning, David walked into the building like a king. He wore crisp suits, designer shoes, and spoke in a new accent, a forced British tone that often made his team giggle behind his back. But David didn't care. He was now a man of status. One afternoon, he sat at a long conference table during a product briefing. He wasn't paying attention to the speaker. His eyes were on Natalie, a 26-year-old project analyst with a sweet laugh and long curly hair. After the meeting, he caught up with her. "Great insights you shared today, Natalie," he said, flashing a charming smile. She looked up from her tablet. "Oh, thank you, sir. Call me David," he said smoothly. "And maybe you can walk me through your strategy tomorrow over lunch." Natalie blushed. "Sure, David." That night, David came home late, nearly 10 p.m. Evelyn was waiting, her dinner now cold. "Welcome," she said quietly. "Millimeter ham," he mumbled, dropping his briefcase carelessly on the couch. I made ogbono soup, she offered, trying to help him out of his jacket. I already ate, he replied without looking at her. She paused. Where? Just or at work, he said quickly, heading to the bathroom. Evelyn sat back down. Her heart sank a little more. Something had changed, she could feel it. But she told herself it was just stress from the promotion. He was finally succeeding, after all. Maybe he just needed space. The next few weeks, David's arrogance grew. He no longer discussed his day with Evelyn. When she asked about work, he replied with short, cold answers. You won't understand, Evelyn. It's high-level stuff. He started posting polished pictures on social media, at meetings, business lounges, and networking events. Once, Evelyn saw a photo of him beside Natalie. The caption read, "Great minds think alike. Strategy lunch with one of Zenith's finest." Her fingers trembled as she held the phone. She tried to ignore the pit in her stomach. That night, he came home smelling of cologne that wasn't his usual. Long day, she asked. Yeah, he replied. Meetings. Reports. You know the drill. Were you with Natalie? He looked at her with sharp eyes. Why are you asking me questions like a child? Evelyn stepped back. I just wanted to know. He scoffed and walked past her. Maybe if you had something to offer in conversations, I wouldn't need to explain myself. Evelyn stood still in the middle of their home, hearing her heart break piece by piece. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn became a shadow in her own home. David barely acknowledged her. He always seemed distracted, always on his phone, always looking at someone else with admiration, never her. On a Sunday morning, she finally gathered courage. David was preparing to leave for what he claimed was a corporate strategy retreat. David, Evelyn said softly, standing at the doorway. Can we talk? He glanced at her impatiently. Make it quick. I don't want to be late. She stepped closer. You've been distant. I feel like I don't know you anymore. We don't eat together. We don't talk. He shrugged. I've been busy. Is that a crime? I understand you're working hard, she said gently. But what about us? He rolled his eyes. Evelyn, stop acting like this. You think marriage is about sitting and talking every night? She tried not to cry. I miss you, David. He sighed deeply. I'm not the same man you married, Evelyn. I've grown. I've stepped into bigger shoes. She swallowed hard. So there's no room for me in those shoes. Look, he said firmly. You're not ambitious. You're content with small things. You like the same food, the same routines, the same boring life. I can't stay small, Evelyn. I want more. She stood frozen, like someone slapped her. David grabbed his suitcase. I'll be back on Tuesday. Evelyn's voice shook. Are you going with Natalie? He stopped at the door and turned slowly. What if I am? She gasped softly. David smirked. You can't even match her confidence. Or her mind. Then he walked out, slamming the door. Evelyn didn't eat for 2 days. She barely got out of bed. She stared at the ceiling, whispering to herself. I gave him everything. I believed in him when no one else did. I even gave him a job in my own company, and he doesn't even know. She picked up her phone and opened a photo album, their wedding day. David had been smiling so brightly back then, holding her hand like she was his whole world. Now, he acted like she was just another piece of furniture. Her best friend, Sandra, came over that evening. What happened to you, Evelyn? She asked, concerned. You're fading. Evelyn shook her head. I don't know who I married anymore. Sandra sighed. You've always hidden everything, even your pain. That man doesn't deserve your silence. Evelyn whispered, he doesn't even know I own Zenith. Sandra gasped. You mean, he still doesn't know? Evelyn nodded. He thinks he got the job by merit. And now he thinks he's too good for me. Sandra looked at her with disbelief. You gave him a ladder, and now he's kicking you down. I thought I was helping him, Evelyn said. But maybe I was helping him leave me. Tears streamed down her face as Sandra hugged her. You're stronger than this, Evelyn, Sandra said gently. He may not see your worth now, but one day, he will. Evelyn looked up, her voice firm for the first time in days. Maybe it's time he sees who really built the throne he's sitting on. Evelyn was in the kitchen washing a plate when the knock came. It wasn't loud, just 2 sharp knocks. She dried her hands and opened the door to find a well-dressed man holding a brown envelope. "Mrs. Evelyn Carter?" the man asked. "Yes," she said slowly. He handed her the envelope. "You've been served." Evelyn stared at the envelope in her hand as the man turned and walked away. Her heart sank. Her fingers shook as she opened it. Inside were divorce papers. She read the first few lines, and her knees nearly gave out. She sank into the nearest chair, blinking fast to stop the tears from falling. David walked in minutes later, adjusting his shirt collar and whistling. He looked surprised to see her holding the envelope. "So, you got it," he said casually. Evelyn looked up at him, voice barely above a whisper. "You're divorcing me?" "Yes," he said, without emotion. "I've thought about it for a while. You and we're not the same anymore." She struggled to breathe. "David, we've been together for 7 years. I stood by you when you had nothing." He raised a hand, cutting her off. "And now I have something. That's exactly the problem." She looked at him, completely confused. "I've outgrown you, Evelyn," he said coldly. "You don't inspire me. You don't push me. You're too ordinary." Her lips parted in disbelief. "I've supported you every single day. You're holding me back," he interrupted. "Look around you. Look at my life now. I'm in a different league. You wouldn't understand the kind of woman I need by my side." Her voice cracked. "So, that's it. Just like that." He shrugged. "It's better this way. You'll find someone on your level. Someone who fits your slow lifestyle." Evelyn held the papers tightly in her hand. Every word from him felt like a knife. But she didn't beg. She didn't scream. She just stood, with tears quietly rolling down her cheeks. "Okay," she whispered. David looked surprised. "You're not going to fight it?" "No," she said. "You've made your choice." She signed the papers and placed them gently on the table. "Is that all?" she asked, voice hollow. David nodded. "I'll send someone for my things." Evelyn walked into the bedroom and closed the door behind her. She didn't cry out loud. She just lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart completely shattered. By the next morning, she was gone. She left the apartment quietly, taking only a small suitcase. No notes. No goodbye. No explanation. David returned that evening to find the place clean and empty. He didn't care. To him, it was finally freedom. 2 months later, David was living his dream life. He had moved into a serviced apartment in a high-end neighborhood. He had bought a brand new black SUV with tinted windows and chrome wheels. And Natalie, young, beautiful Natalie, was now his official girlfriend. They posted pictures together at rooftop bars, beach resorts, and business events. To the outside world, David was the ultimate success story, a man who had broken free from poverty and found love and riches. At work, he held his head high. He now referred to Evelyn as my ex, and when his colleagues asked what happened, he laughed. "She couldn't keep up," he'd say. "She was broke, visionless. I carried her for too long." In the staff cafeteria, he once boasted loudly, "Some women just slow you down. I was running a race, and she was walking. I had to let her go to fly." Some nodded, others exchanged glances. But David didn't notice. He was too busy being the center of attention. One evening, he was at a company dinner with Natalie and a few other top staff. He was wearing a designer suit and gold cufflinks. "So what do you guys think?" he said, sipping wine. "Promotion to director next quarter?" Charles, the company's CEO on paper, gave a small smile. "Let's see how the audit goes first." David paused. "Audit?" Charles nodded. "Yeah. The founder ordered a full internal audit. She's planning to visit soon too. First public appearance in 3 years." David blinked. "The founder? I thought she was some old woman abroad." "No one's sure who she is, actually," said Charles, sipping his drink. She's kept her identity hidden. But the company belongs to her. Every decision ultimately passes through her. David laughed. Well, whoever she is, she should be proud of me. I've done more in 6 months than most people do in 2 years. Charles smiled again. But it didn't reach his eyes. Natalie leaned in. Do you think she'll like you, babe? David grinned confidently. What's not to like? But in the corner of the room, someone else had noticed. A woman in a navy blue dress had been watching quietly, one of the assistant HR auditors. She sent a text message as she stepped out. He doesn't know. He's still bragging. She needs to see this. Back at her apartment, Evelyn sat on a couch, dressed in casual jeans and a t-shirt, sipping tea. She looked at her phone screen, eyes calm but focused. Sandra was seated across from her. So he's still talking trash? Sandra asked. Evelyn nodded. He called me a broke, visionless woman in front of the entire team. Sandra slammed her hand on the couch. That man has no shame. Imagine calling the actual owner of the company broke. Evelyn sighed deeply. He thinks he's winning. Sandra leaned forward. What are you waiting for? Go back. Reveal yourself. Evelyn shook her head. Not yet. Let him finish building his little empire of lies. Sandra chuckled bitterly. He'll fall so hard, he won't know what hit him. Evelyn's eyes darkened with quiet strength. I didn't lose, Sandra, she said softly. I just stepped aside. Now I'm watching him ruin himself with pride. Abuja, Nigeria, Zenith Innovations annual company retreat. The venue was beautiful, a luxury hotel in Abuja surrounded by greenery and glass. The lobby buzzed with excitement as Zenith Innovations employees arrived for their much-anticipated retreat. There were whispers everywhere. Do you think the founder will really show up this time? Someone asked near the breakfast table. I heard she's been running the company from behind the scenes for years, another answered. Some guessed she was a reclusive tech billionaire from America. Others thought she was royalty. No one knew the truth. David Carter strolled into the lounge in a crisp white Agbada-style kaftan, gold-rimmed glasses perched on his nose, confidence radiating off him like cologne. Morning, everyone, he called out. A few people waved. Others nodded. He spotted Charles and Natalie by the reception desk and joined them. I hear you're one of the top presenters this year, Charles said. David gave a smug smile. Of course. I'll be showcasing our AI logistics solution. It's a game changer. Natalie touched his arm. Babe, imagine if the founder is in the audience when you present. David adjusted his collar. She'll be impressed. Maybe she'll even offer me a seat at the board. Charles looked at him and said casually, she's already arrived, by the way. Landed last night. David's eyes widened. Really? Yup, Charles replied. She checked in quietly. No one's seen her yet, though. But she'll be at the gala tomorrow during the founder's speech. David chuckled. Whoever she is, she's about to see the best talent in her company. The rest of the day was filled with activities, breakout sessions, group hikes, business workshops. Later in the evening, during the networking dinner, David made sure to mingle with top executives. Honestly, he said, holding a glass of wine, the reason Zenith has grown so fast is because of people like me, visionaries. We don't wait for handouts. We create impact. One man in a grey suit raised an eyebrow. Interesting. I thought I read somewhere that you were recommended by someone internally. David scoffed. Ah, that's just office talk. I got in because I earned it. I had no connections. Everything I have now, I built myself. In the shadows of the room, a woman in a dark emerald gown stood silently, listening. Her name tag simply read, E. Lawson. She didn't say a word. She just watched. The next day, the main ballroom was decorated in Zenith's signature colors, silver and deep blue. Staff gathered around round tables, dressed in their best formal wear. The projector displayed the agenda. Founder's address, 11 a.m. David stood backstage, rehearsing his pitch for the last time. Natalie came over and kissed his cheek. Good luck, babe. He smiled. After today, I won't just be David. I'll be Mr. Carter, future board director. Meanwhile, in the front row, Charles sat beside the woman in the emerald gown, Evelyn Lawson, the real owner of Zenith Innovations. At exactly 11 a.m., the lights dimmed. The host walked on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that I welcome to the stage, for the first time ever, the founder and visionary behind Zenith Innovations. A beat of silence. Mrs. Evelyn Lawson. Whispers filled the hall. Did he say Evelyn Lawson? From backstage, David chuckled. Must be some old investor. But then she stepped into the spotlight. Evelyn. Elegant. Bold. Flawless. She wore a cream silk suit with gold accents, her hair pinned in a graceful bun. Her heels clicked softly as she walked across the stage. Her presence was commanding, the kind of quiet strength that could silence a room. Gasps echoed around the hall. David's heart dropped. His mouth opened slightly as his mind raced. That can't be. Evelyn? He froze, still hidden backstage, peeking from behind the curtain. On stage, Evelyn took a moment, scanning the audience. She saw him. His face pale. Eyes wide. Hands trembling. Then she turned back to the crowd and began. Good morning. Many of you know me only as a silent name on your contracts, a digital signature at the bottom of key decisions. I've stayed behind the curtain for years, by choice. But today, I decided to step forward, not just as your founder, but as a reminder. The crowd listened, completely still. Zenith Innovations began with nothing but a dream, and deep, painful sacrifice. I built it stone by stone while hiding in plain sight. Not because I was ashamed, but because sometimes the most powerful lessons happen when people are being watched without knowing it. She paused and locked eyes with David again. He looked like he might faint. Evelyn continued. Some of you know me as Evelyn Carter, the quiet woman who once lived simply, washing dishes and supporting a man who believed he had outgrown her. That man is here today. The audience murmured, turning their heads. He spoke of ambition but forgot kindness. He wanted status but forgot love. He climbed a ladder that I built and spat on the hands that gave it to him. David stepped forward slowly from backstage, unable to help himself. His legs wobbled. Evelyn didn't stop. Let this moment remind everyone, power is not loud. Power doesn't boast. Power watches and waits. The room erupted in applause. But David didn't hear it. He was already drowning. He stumbled forward, reaching the edge of the stage. Evelyn, he croaked. She looked at him, calm and unreadable. He climbed up halfway and knelt, microphone forgotten. Please. I didn't know. I didn't mean. She spoke softly but firmly. You said I wasn't in your league, David. You were right. I'm not. Gasps rippled again. Tears filled his eyes. Evelyn, I was blind. She turned away and walked back to the podium. To everyone listening today, build with people who believe in you. Love with respect. And never, ever underestimate the quiet ones. They're often the strongest among us. The applause this time was thunderous. David remained on his knees. Natalie had slipped out the back. And Evelyn stood tall, no longer the silent wife in the shadows, but the woman behind the throne. The aftermath of Evelyn's revelation at the company retreat sent shockwaves through Zenith Innovations. Whispers filled the corridors, and employees exchanged knowing glances. David, once the company's rising star, now found himself under intense scrutiny. The boardroom confrontation. A week later, David received a formal summons to appear before the board. The atmosphere in the boardroom was tense. Seated around the table were the company's top executives, including Charles, the acting CEO. David, Charles began, his tone stern, we've concluded our internal audit, and the findings are deeply concerning. David shifted uncomfortably. I assure you, any discrepancies can be explained. Charles raised an eyebrow. Can you explain why confidential company documents were found in the hands of our competitors? David's eyes widened. What? That's impossible. Charles slid a folder across the table. These emails were traced back to your account. They were sent to Natalie, who then forwarded them externally. David's face turned pale. I didn't authorize that. Regardless, Charles said, as her supervisor and partner, the responsibility falls on you. This breach has cost the company significantly. The board members murmured in agreement. David's heart sank as he realized the gravity of the situation. After the meeting, David returned to his apartment, only to find Natalie's belongings gone. A note on the table read, "I'm sorry, David. I can't be part of this mess. Goodbye." Alone and disgraced, David's world crumbled around him. The lavish lifestyle he once flaunted was now a distant memory. With David's exit, Evelyn stepped into the spotlight as Zenith Innovations' CEO. Her leadership brought a renewed sense of purpose to the company. She initiated programs to support women-led startups across Africa, drawing inspiration from initiatives like her startup and Tech Africa. Empowering women. Evelyn launched the Rise Initiative, a program aimed at mentoring and funding female entrepreneurs. Workshops, networking events, and seed funding opportunities became regular features, empowering countless women to pursue their business dreams. One evening, as Evelyn returned home, she found David waiting at her gate. "Evelyn," he began, his voice filled with remorse, "I made a terrible mistake. I was blind to your love and support. Please, forgive me." Evelyn looked at him, her gaze steady. "David, I gave you everything, my love, my trust, my support. And you threw it all away." Tears welled up in David's eyes. "I was a fool." Evelyn nodded. "Yes, you were. But I've moved on. I hope you find peace." As she turned and walked away, the weight of the past lifted from her shoulders. Please don't forget to hit the like button, comment and subscribe, it really means a lot to us. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to get more interesting stories like this.